Well, good day, friends. Here on Memorial Day weekend, sitting on my deck. I'm in the Chicago metro area and it's a beautiful day outside. Hopefully you're enjoying that weather as well as we continue with our self-isolation and social distancing. Tomorrow, Memorial Day, I was actually scheduled to be the keynote speaker at a function, but it's been canceled, like probably many others across the country have been canceled because of social distancing. But I want to take the opportunity to do a little history lesson about Memorial Day. So it goes back to April 29, 1866, when General John Logan, the Grand Army of the Republic, was asked to be the keynote speaker at an event in his hometown of Carbondale, Illinois. The event was a community observance for Civil War soldiers who had died and were buried in the local cemetery. This 1868 celebration was inspired by local observances of the day in several towns throughout America that had taken place in the 3 years since the end of the Civil War. In fact, several northern and southern towns claimed to be the birthplace of Memorial Day, including Columbus, Missouri, Macon, Georgia, Richmond, Virginia, Boalsburg, Pennsylvania, and of course, Carbondale, Illinois. Memorial Day was originally known as Decoration Day because it was a time set aside to honor the nation's Civil War dead by decorating their graves with flowers. On May 5, 1868, General Logan made a speech at Arlington National Cemetery, after which 5,000 participants helped to decorate the graves of the more than 20,000 Union and Confederate soldiers who were buried in Arlington Cemetery. Shortly afterwards, General Order Number 11 proclaimed that the 30th day of May 1868 is designated for the purpose of strewing with flowers or otherwise decorating the graves of comrades who died in defense of their country during the late rebellion, and whose bodies now lie in almost every city, village, and hamlet churchyard in the land. By the late 1800s, many communities across the country had begun to celebrate Memorial Day, and after World War I observances, they also began to honor those who had died in all of America's wars. Congress in 1971 passed the National Holiday Act, which changed Memorial Day from May 30th to the last Monday in May. Now, since the late 1950s, Memorial Day has been celebrated at Arlington National Cemetery with a ceremony where a small American flag is placed at each grave. Customarily, the president or vice president give a speech honoring contributions of the dead and lays a wreath at the tomb of the unknowns. About 5,000 people attend that ceremony annually. The time-honored tradition of Flags In at Arlington National Cemetery began this year on Thursday, May 21st, after all the funerals were completed for the day. Flags In has been conducted annually since the 3rd U.S. Infantry Regiment, the Old Guard, was designated as the Army's official ceremonial unit in 1948. The Old Guard has done this for years, placing small American flags on the grave sites of all who rest at Arlington National Cemetery. Flags are placed 1 foot in front of and centered before each headstone in the cemetery. Flags are also placed at the Tomb of the Unknowns by the tomb sentinels and also at the cemetery's columbarium. It takes approximately 3 hours to place the more than 215,000 flags. Over the past century, more than 35 million men and women have answered the call to arms in World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, the Persian Gulf, Iraq, Afghanistan, and countless of unnamed military engagements. More than 500,000 of them never came home. Some died in battle, others in captivity, all died too soon. Continuing military action offers fresh reminders of human reality of war. Ordinary men and women leaving homes and families and, for all they know, to risk their lives for an ideal of honor or duty or just to protect the soldier next to them. People of patriotism and goodwill may debate the merits of any given war, police action, or humanitarian mission, but there should be no debate about our debt to the hundreds of thousands of our citizens who have given the ultimate sacrifice of their lives heeding the nation's call to service. Many Americans these days have forgotten the meaning and traditions of Memorial Day. At many cemeteries, the graves of the fallen are increasingly ignored or neglected. Most people no longer remember the proper flag etiquette for this day. While there are towns and cities that still hold Memorial Day parades, many have not held a parade or celebration in decades. Well, certainly today the parades and celebrations will mostly be absent in the year of COVID-19 and social distancing. Many think that changing the date in '71 merely to create a 3-day weekend has undermined the very meaning of Memorial Day. Some people think the day is for honoring any and all day, not just those fallen in service to our country. Some think it's a day to thank our veterans for their service. Well, that's actually on Veterans Day, which is November 11th. No doubt these factors have contributed greatly to the general public's nonchalant observance of Memorial Day. I hope we can remember this Memorial Day as an observance to honor all those who have made the ultimate sacrifice, and not just as a 3-day weekend. I encourage you to finish your Memorial Day reflection with a moment of silence at 3 p.m. to give thanks to the people who have died and fought for our freedoms that we now enjoy in our country. My name is Michael Holub, distinguished member of the 3rd U.S. Infantry Regiment, the Old Guard.